In a world where the ground feels shaky and memory is optional, two men will rise, armed with microphones, dry humor, and a suspicious number of pill bottles. They'll face tremors, stiffness, and the ultimate challenge, recording a podcast without forgetting what they were talking about. This is where Parkinson's gets real. This is Life in Motion, the Parkinson's podcast. Rated P for please take your meds first. Now, grab your earbuds, unless you forgot where you put them. Then just turn the volume up because today's episode is ready to go. Now, here are Bryce and Brian.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Life in Motion, the Parkinson podcast. I'm Bryce, and this is my buddy Brian. Hey Brian.
How you doing today, my friend?
I'm fantastic. I am so excited about today's broadcast. Today we're going to tackle something that's really it's deeply personal. And it's something that we all go through and everybody's gone through. But how do we talk about Parkinson's? Who do we tell? How do we tell them? And when do we tell them?
Yeah, that conversation is different depending on who the audience is. It can be your boss, your kids, your spouse, strangers. How do you wrap that up? Right.
And it's amazing, and it could be different for each of them, right? And again, it's our story. We're going to talk about things that we did and things that we, ways we told people, how we told people, and things that worked and what we may have learned from it. But everybody's got a story. Everybody's different. But so we're thankful that you're here, and we're going to walk through that journey from that moment of diagnosis, right, all the way to the unexpected run-ins with strangers. And it's going to be exciting. It's awesome. I know, Brian, you've got a great story, and it's kind of where we got. What I find really interesting is between the two of us, it's where we have some differences as well. So it's a good kind of combination.
Absolutely.
But you know what? Before we get into that, we're going to do some shaky fakey. We're going to do some shaky fakey. If you're new to the broadcast, welcome. But this shaky fakey time, this is where I'm going to ask Brian some questions. I'm going to throw some common Parkinson's myths at you and at him. And I want you to tell me if they're true or totally made up. So if they're true or totally made up, and you can play along whether you're live with us today, you put it in the comments when it comes up, or in the replay as well. Put it in the comments and we'll just see how you do. And Brian is a self-proclaimed, what is it called again, Brian?
Expert generalist.
So he's a self-proclaimed expert generalist, and I want to see if you can beat Brian. Brian's actually he won one and lost two, I think. So, but let's get at it. Okay, so let's get it. This is the first question. Again, play along with us. People with Parkinson's should always tell others about their diagnosis right away. So, shaky true, fakey false. So, people with Parkinson's should tell. What did I didn't know that. I forgot the question. People should always tell others about their diagnosis right away. Brian, shaky or fakey? And if you're playing along, throw it in the comments. So do you think that's shaky or fakey?
I'm hanging my hat on fakey on that one.
And Brian, you're going fakey. All right, here we go. That is absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. Totally false. There's no one size fits all. It's a personal decision, and it's based on comfort and timing. And, that's one of the things that I think, again, these are a lead up to what we're going to talk about. So there's no right answer. It's what works for you. Okay. So 1 for 1, Brian, here you go. You're out for a good start. I think that's, we're going to see what we can do, but here's question number 2.
Okay.
All right, here we go. Shaky or fakey? If you don't have visible symptoms, there's no reason to talk about Parkinson's. Shaky or fakey? If you don't have symptoms, there's no reason.
I better get this one right. I'm going to go fakey.
You're going fakey. Fakey. And I think we're in the same boat on this. Brian, I'm looking at you right now, and I don't see very visible statements, right? So this may be from experience, but let's see. Let's roll the dice, or let's do the drum. You're absolutely correct. That's totally false, right? Totally false. A lot of symptoms are invisible, right? Fatigue, anxiety, stiffness, and talking about them. I find that talking about them creates understanding. So that is totally. Brian's 2 for 2. My goodness, Brian. Okay, you've been practicing this week, I can tell.
Absolutely.
Yeah, all right. And how are you doing? If you if you want to get involved, shaky or fakey, to throw it in the comments what you think it is. But here we go. Question number 3. Brian's 2 for 2. This is going to go 3 for 3. Here we go. Question number 3. Explaining your condition can help reduce stigma and support. Is that shaky or fakey?
Can help reduce stigma. I'm going to go that shaky.
And you, my friend, have gone 3 for 3. Absolutely. 3 for 3.
I'm quite proud of that.
Is that a new record? I think that's a new record.
New record.
New record, but absolutely Shaky. Yes, when you're ready, being open, it can educate others and it can build empathy. So how did you do? Let us know in the chats, let us know in the comments how you did. But I really want to dig into this, Brian. This is a big topic. It's an important topic, and let's get right into it. So let's start with the big moment. Let's start with the diagnosis. So Brian, I'll ask you, who did you tell first? And tell us a bit about that diagnosis and that step.
Yeah, so I had my wingman, my wife Lori, with me riding shotgun the whole journey from beginning to end. So I didn't have to disclose anything to her, but we did have to disclose it from beyond that. Now, for me, it was a little bit different because I had the heart problem that I had in 2007, right. And I was diagnosed with Parkinson's in 2018. My core circle of family, friends, as well as my extended circle of family and friends were aware of that experience with me in the past. So I had something to leverage there. But we were also, Lori and I were managing our I'll say caregiver circle, but it was our medical caregiver circle. So my GP was involved from the beginning, doing the standard tests that we would have expected,
right?
Blood work, MRI, X-ray, things of that nature. But he quickly handed me over, and I don't know if I have the pronunciation of this totally correct, but this person was known as a physiatrist. And a physiatrist, I'll just explain it briefly.
I've never even heard physiatrist. That's new. That's new one for me.
Yeah, so they're responsible for diagnosing and treating medical conditions that limit a person's mobility, activities, or interactions with the world around them. These include conditions that affect your ability to move, to walk, to eat, in some cases to speak, or even complete activities of daily living, also known as ADLs. And that's like bathing and getting dressed. So for me, you wouldn't see those symptoms because where I was first challenged would be because it was in my right arm as the epicenter of my diagnosis. And that's my strong arm. Doing things like shaving. So if I had to take a razor and push it against my skin and down, even to this day, I have difficulty with that motor skill. Right. Combing my hair, toweling myself off. So the whole shower experience, if the folks saw the opening of today's program, they saw you talk about putting on socks, and between socks and a wet bathing suit, those are Olympic events.
They really are.
Absolutely, but I found the same thing with my diagnosis. So it was kind of crazy. So we went along for over a year with Dr. Marchi, who is my physiatrist.
I gotta say that again. Sorry, Brian. I'm gonna stop you really quick because I want to know, people watching, if you had a physiotrist or have ever heard of physiotrist. I want to know. Just put it in the comments, please, because that's the first I've heard of it, and I think that's a really cool thing to have or get or to look for. So I just wanted, but keep going. So I didn't mean to interrupt, but I just want to know if anybody else has heard of it.
It's a great point because, to be honest with you, even to this moment, I never realized how fortunate or lucky I was to have that individual in my corner. Right,
for sure.
It was huge, and he started using the word Parkinson's early in my journey. And my dad always taught me, if you didn't want to hear the answer, don't ask the question. Yeah. So I played deaf and dumb with him. I didn't ask. I just let him. It was as if he was having that conversation with himself. Wow. Not the right thing to do, probably, to ignore it. Because eventually the outcome is the outcome, but it felt good at the time. But at any rate, he was involved with me prior to me getting my neurologist, because he's the one who recommended the neurologist that I eventually got. So he had a big hand in my journey and diagnosis, quite frankly. So going back to how did we let people know? Yeah. I remember it well. It was Thanksgiving weekend in 2018. And Lori and I left the last appointment that we had just before the weekend, and we both knew that I had Parkinson's. So the neurologist had said, Brian, we're going to give you 6 weeks of levodopa, the gold standard for tackling Parkinson's. And then at the end of the 6 weeks, I want you to come and see me, and we'll have a chat. If the pills are working, you have Parkinson's.
Yeah.
And the pills started to work right away. So it wasn't long into my 6 weeks that Lori and I both knew. So she took on calling out to what I would call our tight circle.
Okay.
Right? Telling our kids again, that dad was sick.
Yeah.
Geez, buddy, I thought I'd beat it once, and it came back and bit me again.
This brief interruption is brought to you by no one, no sponsors, no miracle cures. No one paid us to say this. But if someone wants to sponsor us, we are absolutely available. In the meantime, take a deep breath, stretch something, maybe check if it's time for your next pill. And yes, we'll wait. Now back to the show, already in progress, unless Brian forgot to hit record.
So there's it's really interesting. So here's where we're a bit different. So just so I'll make sure that I'm getting this too. So you got diagnosed, right? And then Lori's with you. So you get diagnosed, and you're kind of like, when you know what you know, you're okay. You're just like, whether Lori's telling people or you're telling people, you're just, hey, I'm here, and this is how it goes. And
right.
I think what's really cool, and you brought up the kids as well. And see, for me, it was different. And I talked about this in other videos, so I won't get too deep into it, but I wasn't very comfortable. The one thing that we were different is that when I officially got diagnosed, and again, I remember the words was, the movement disorder specialist said, you have Parkinson's, right? And I went like, oh, yes, thank God. I know what it is, blah, blah, blah. But I was by myself. Like I wasn't there. My spouse at the time wasn't with me. Okay. So now I had to go tell my spouse.
Wow.
Right. And that wasn't, was scary. It was kind of like scary because you're trying to, and I guess here, Brian, is what I'm trying to get to. And then you mentioned the kids, and I remember sitting my kids down. And so really quick, just to kind of throw my stuff in, is that I didn't want to tell anybody other than my spouse. So my spouse knew first, obviously, and then my parents were the next people I talked to, and then my kids. And my kids, I took a little bit because I wanted to, because you know how you are as a dad. You want to reassure them, right? You want to reassure them that it's going to be okay. But at the time, I don't really know what the hell was going on. I mean, I'm diagnosed. I don't know much about this. I don't know a lot. So I wanted to kind of educate myself a little bit, at least. But the one thing I found is that I was more concerned for them than me at the time. How they were going to react, if they were going to be hurt, upset, worried, scared. And I wasn't really looking at myself. And looking back, I think that's the right way to go. Don't get me wrong. I mean, we all do that. We're protective. Even with my parents, I'm like, oh, hey, mom, dad, I've got this, but I'll be okay. Don't worry about me, kind of thing, right? But I think that those initial conversations, they were the scariest for me. Were telling my spouse, my kids, and my parents. And was it scary to tell anybody, or was there no fear at all for you?
Well, the fear was, here we go again, right? Like I said I'm the youngest of 4 siblings, and I said to my eldest sister when I phoned her and told her, I said, it looks like when they got to the 4th kid, mom and dad didn't get the extended warranty for me. Like from heart disease to Parkinson's, and I'm like, come on, I'm going to drive that bitter bus on the way to Pitney City.
I didn't get the extended warranty. I love that.
You know what? I you know me well enough now, Bryce. I like the crack jokes, and you know what? That was the hardest one because it was my eldest sister. So it set us at ease. It put us in a good place, and we could have a good conversation and move on. And I just wanted to let people know and move on.
I think that's right.
I was as bold as I was with my heart disease. I got this. If anybody's going to get this, give it to me.
Yeah.
I got this, and I'm going to take it on. We're going to be okay, kids.
So again, difference. Like, I love that. That to me, that's I'm inspired by that, and I wish I was like that. For me, it was like I was the other way. I felt if maybe, and I look back now, I know this, but at the time, if I don't talk about it, it doesn't happen. It doesn't exist, right? And I think my brain at the time was like, no, I'll fight this. No one will ever know, kind of thing. And I love that I got this. I'm gonna have to deal with this. I'm going to go get it, and that's the way I am now. It took me a while to get there, so that's amazing for you to have that right off the crack. But back to your humor part, I'm with you. I mean, I think that's why we get along so well, because I feel like it's, you're right. We've got it. It's our lot. We have it. Okay. So let's move on. But and that's funny. Those little things, like even in the beginning clips of the, while we were waiting to come on, and I do these morning motivational things, and they're from real life. It's like, if I'm struggling with something, for example, I did one on the socks, putting my socks on. So that morning, I'm literally, or the morning before, I was trying to put these socks on. And I'm, what the hell, and I'm trying to put the sock on, and I'm moving here and I'm twisting here, and in the moment I'm like, geez, and I get frustrated. I throw the sock down, like, this is ridiculous. Come on. And then, and it frustrates. And again, in the beginning of my diagnosis, 15 years ago, those frustrating moments would have did me in. I'd be frustrated for 2 days, I'd be mad, I'd go back into the why is me phase, and life's awful. And now though, I feel like it's like I'm like, okay, I'll make a video. I was almost like I tell my Parkinson's. I talk to my Parkinson's all the time. I know it's gonna be crazy, but I talk to it all the time. Like, in other words, I go, you know what, you bastard, you just got another video. I'm gonna make fun of you. I'm gonna make fun. Like, when I make fun of myself, I'm kind of poking fun at making fun of myself putting socks on. But if you watch the video, I say, Parkinson's. It's Parkinson's. It's that thing. And I feel like when I make fun of it, I take the power back. I don't know why or how. I don't know. Does that do anything with you? Like, when you make fun of it, does it make you almost feel like you're
totally resonates with me. Look at the shirt I'm wearing today, right?
Be aware. Oh yeah, exactly. Amazing. I love it. I love it. I love that. I love it.
Yeah. It was a crazy roller coaster. Letting people know, but we got through, and I have to give Lori all the credit. I say I talked to my sister. That was after Lori had already had the conversation, so to speak. I wish I had a Lori back then. I was in the conversation, but she was driving it for sure. And so we got through that tight circle of close friends, close family. We only had Lori's mom alive at the time. Okay. So that we didn't have grandparents and folks like that. And as I said, my kids had already been through it once. But having said that, I remember I was sitting in the living room in a big comfy chair, and my daughter Julie came through the door, and she just looked at me and started to cry. And what do? You have a hug and you say, "Honey, don't worry, I got this." And she's the one that encouraged me to sign up and start volunteering again, like I did for the Heart and Stroke Foundation when I had my triple bypass. She's like, "Dad, why aren't you doing some stuff for Parkinson's?" In between the lines, she was going, "You lazy dumbass, get out there and do something." And good on her, because I'm busy now.
And who was that?
I'm busy with the Parkinson's folks.
Who was that? Who told you that?
Say that again.
Who was that? Did you say it was your sister or your daughter? Who was that?
It was
person?
my daughter.
Your daughter.
I have three daughters. It was the middle one.
Wow.
And, she got out the broom handle and gave me a good nudge.
Good for her.
Absolutely. I give her full credit. You got to give credit where credit's due. I'm not going to sit here and say, yeah, I decided I was going to go sign up and become an expert journalist, but that's where the dream started. That's definitely where the dream started. And I thank her for that.
Well, you touched me. That's amazing. That touched my heart, because I'm going to say something that I've never ever said out loud before, and I don't know why I'm even saying this, but that kind of inspired me to say it. But my grandmother had Parkinson's, and as I don't know, not silly as it sounds, but she got diagnosed like in her 60s or something, so she lived for about 10 or 12 years, I think, with it. And she was pretty, near the end too. She was pretty rough off, and I feel bad that when I had it, all I knew is that, like, I knew my grandma had it, and I'm like, oh, someone said, well, what does it mean? And I was like, I don't know. You shake a little bit. Like I didn't know a lot
Yeah.
about it, but I do remember, and this was amazing, different for me, but I would remember one of the last times I visited her, and I'll tell you a story, Brian, because I have to say this out loud because I feel like, but anyway, she would sit in her chair, she shaking pretty profusely, and the she was. And I know this now. I didn't know it then, but I guess the levodopa was giving her bad like hallucinations and stuff, and so they were trying to cut her back on it. And I just remember her always she'd sit in a chair and stare at a clock. She stared at this clock the whole time, and I was sitting there trying to talk to her. I'm like, Grandma, blah blah blah, and she's just staring at this clock, and I'm like, I was almost getting irritated,
Annoyed,
because I'm like, I'm here to see you and I want to talk to you and I want to, and all you do is stare at this damn clock. And and I remember I was feeling like really annoyed. And now I make jokes about living on this 3-hour cycle, with my meds.
Yes.
And so I get it. But so she passed away in September, 15 years ago this September, right around my birthday, and the day after she passed away, my right hand started to twitch.
Oh wow!
And I, take that for what it is, but and she passed away, and crazy enough, it was almost like I either wished I got this earlier or she lasted longer, because I felt like once I kind of got it and I understood, I kind of knew what she was feeling, and now I could be there for her. You know what I mean? We could, we'd be like buddies, like partners, kind of thing. And it blows me away. And so I wish, and one of the things I do is I try to educate people on it right away. So they I don't want to look at me being annoyed with me because I'm staring at my watch every 5 minutes because I feel like I need to take my pills. And so I think for me now, I've learned that the quicker I tell people, the faster I tell people, and I educate them on what it is and what it's not. Because there's so many misconceptions out there that I'm not dead, I'm not dying, I can still we can still it's changed my perspective on things. Can I tell you one quick story? I know I'm talking too much, but I'll tell you one quick story because I just feel like I have to say this. But the last time that I was with my grandma, we went out to the grocery store and we ended up in a Costco, and she would lean on the cart to walk, right? And we walked up, and there was these TVs, and the Wii had just come out. The Wii,
yes.
And she looked over and she said, "I've heard about those." She said, "I think you apparently can play tennis on the TV." And I said, "Yeah, you can, Grandma." And so they had a demo set up, and so I went to the guy and asked, I said, "Could you please I told him the story, and and he did. On the Costco, so picture this 16 years ago, where my grandma with Parkinson's got her a Wii remote, and I had a Wii remote, and the guy put on the tennis, and it came up on all the TVs on the side of Costco, and my grandma was holding on to the cart, and I had a game of tennis with her. So that was a really cool memory. It was so fun. And she loved it.
What a great story.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry. That was crazy.
I'll never apologize for being you, buddy. Never apologize for that. That was an amazing story. Thank you for sharing that. Thanks for going deep.
That was crazy.
I didn't know about your grandmother having Parkinson's. In my family, nobody else has been touched by it. That's why I think it's a warranty thing. I really do.
Yeah, and I love that. I always said, I was like, hey, when someone says something to me, I'll say, hey, well, at least you don't have. We all have expiry dates, but anyway, that was wild. I've never told anybody that. I've told a couple people that story, but that was I just felt, I don't know why I felt like that. Either someone needed to hear that, and I guess for me, this subject is so important to me, and important that I think that we get it out, because when I first met you, Brian, how long that was, a year or two ago, and you were saying like right away, it's like, you're just out there, man. You're just out there, and I'm like, good for you, and I just think the more we speak, the more we talk, the more we tell people, the more we don't leave them guessing. It breaks the stigma, and it lets I don't know. That's why I just think it's so important.
Yeah, we don't want people swimming in the apathy pool. We want to be swimming in the advocacy pool. That's what we want to be in. Yeah, absolutely.
And why do we not tell people? Some of the things, like, think this: why do we not tell people? Like, if we're there, and my thing always, Brian, I don't want to tell them because I don't want them to feel bad. I don't want the pity party. I don't want them to feel bad for me. But what I've learned is the reverse is what happens. If you're sitting there going, I'm not going to tell them because I don't want them to, but they can see something. They know something's going on, and they're going home going, oh man, I hope Brian's okay. I don't know. Something looks off with him, and I feel like it does the reverse of what we thought it was going to do.
Yeah, like with me, it's freezing, right? It's that darn freezing thing. So, yes, I don't have the tremors, and I'm one of the 30% that don't typically get tremors with their diagnosis of Parkinson's. And I think that's great. My eldest daughter, it was probably 7-8 months ago. We were just sitting around again, and she popped in the room, and she said, and we started chatting about Parkinson's. And she says, Dad, one thing that's really neat about your Parkinson's, I said, I stopped her. I said, well, I'm interested to hear where this is going. Yeah. And she said, one thing that's really neat about your Parkinson's is it's not visible. Yeah. You look normal. You don't show any signs. And she said, and the first thing I taught my kids was the term freezing, and it didn't mean get me a sweater. It didn't mean I was cold. It means I was coming off my drugs as they were ramping back up. And there's that gap there where it's very sluggish to move around and so forth. And I did an analysis on myself, and I can sit here in front of this audience or any audience and say, and be probably close to 95% accurate, that on a daily basis, I get freeze about 5 times a day, 10 to 20 minutes per freezing. And it's typically between 9 a.m. and 8 p.m. I don't freeze at night at all. And that really means a lot, or at least to me, it meant a lot, because all of my anguish and anxiety was camping out in that, and that's where I would pitch my tent. And I wouldn't leave. I didn't want to leave the house. Didn't want to go to friends. Didn't want to go.
You were scared of it happening. You were scared of them seeing it.
I didn't know when I was going to freeze, and put on top of that, constipation and bladder issues. Yeah, I didn't want to deal with that, right? Unless I was home, where I had created a safe zone for myself. But once I did that analysis, and now I know what I know, I'm out playing pickleball. Like I'm living as normal a life you can, and have Parkinson's.
It was funny. I was talking to someone, Brian, yesterday, and they were saying that a friend of theirs just got diagnosed, and they're like, "Hey, could you talk to them?" And I'm like, "Sure, I can talk to them anytime." Like that's kind of what we live for now. Like I feel,
absolutely.
And I'm anytime, and they, but they're a little bit sheepish about talking and not really sure. But I feel like you just said, they came back. They said, "Well, what would you tell them? What was the first thing you tell them?" And it'd be like, okay, you have Parkinson's, great. Okay, so, but it's not over. But to be real, and I believe in being real. Like I don't want to cast fairy tales, and we can go, you can live your best life and everything's great, and doesn't mean there's not crappy days. Doesn't mean it doesn't suck some days. It doesn't mean, like I said, even with the socks, like I have my minute of frustration. But what I say is that, what's going to happen? Well, there's some things that you're going to have to change. The way you do them. Some things you're going to have to adjust. Some things you may have to stop. But the reality is you can still live the productive, great life, but you just have to tweak and adjust it a little bit.
Yeah.
It's not the end.
And find the reason for what that is. For me, I call it find your who. My who is my 4 grandkids. And I do everything I do every day because I want to spend another day with them. And if I can finish a day feeling as good as the way I felt at the beginning of that day, because we all know Parkinson's is a degenerative disease. If I'm not having that outcome, or I'm slowing it down, worst case scenario, then every victory counts. I'm doing a Snoopy dance on ozones.
Snoopy dance. I love that. Snoopy dance. And that's so good. Dance. Who's your who? I love it. Who's your who? How about that in the comments? Everybody, anybody listening, watching, who is your who? That is so important.
Find your who.
Who's your who? And that could change too. I'll be honest, that could change. So I got a few who's, but my latest who is my boo. My boo. So I actually my first year wedding anniversary is coming up here in a couple of weeks, and that my wife is my who now too. Where it's like I was 53 years old, 54 years old with having Parkinson's for 14 years. Number one, I thought, who the hell's going to date a guy with Parkinson's in their
Okay.
50s, right? Who's going to do that? They got to be someone crazy. And as I tell my wife all the time, you're nuts.
Your wife is not crazy.
You're nuts, right? She says, I'm just crazy for you, man, or honey, or whatever she wants to call me. But that really, who is your who? So for me, it's like, I tell my wife, it took me 50 years to find you. And I want to cherish every moment I have with you. And I want as many days, years, months as I can have. And, I live my life as if I live it like it sounds like a postcard or a movie, right? Like, live it like it's your last day. And I try every day to go, what if it was, I've been living this life. Like, I'm going for it. And so my kids are my who. We talked about this before. You and you're seeing your daughters get married and experience that life. So who is your who? I love it. Who is your who? In the comments, who's your who? Is it a spouse, a friend, a family?
I'd love to see some notes in the comments on that. Absolutely.
Wouldn't that be cool?
Because when I got diagnosed with heart disease, Bryce, it was a different set of who's. Because at that point, I had 3 teenage daughters that hadn't been walked down the aisle yet. That was my burn. I wanted to walk each one of those girls down the aisle on their wedding day, and I wanted to give them away and say my speech. And I did that with all 3 of them. In fact, Julie, my middle one, was July 2018, which was the year I was diagnosed.
Wow, man. I know, and it was funny. We talked, and if you missed that, I think was that in our very first one. I think the very first episode of these podcasts, the Life in Motion podcast, and Brian talked about it. And we had that in common. How are we going to say? But the problem is mine hasn't gone down the aisle yet, so I still got to wait a while here in a bit. But I think that, it's funny, and going back to those kids and telling those 3 daughters, I mean, that's going to be an emotional moment then, Brian. If that was on your mind, let me ask you this, did you tell your daughters that was a fear, or not a fear, but a goal? I'm going to be good to walk you down the aisle?
Every speech I did for the Heart and Stroke Foundation was based on the premise of, I want to walk my 3 daughters down the aisle on their wedding day. I always took boxes of tissue for my audience.
I was going to say, but that's exactly what I was going to say. So now I'm picturing you guys, picturing your daughter you're getting ready to walk down the aisle. It's just the 2 of you, right? Waiting to get down, and you're looking at each other. And does that moment hit you then? Like, holy shit, we made it. Like, this is it. This is what we were.
Yeah, if you haven't noticed, I'm a bit of a crier. So yeah.
Well, obviously today I am the big crier too. I've been probably holding, but yeah, sorry. Yes. So go ahead.
We'll make cry. That's all I'm going to say. And we eat quiche.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It did. It was awesome. All 3 were an awesome experience. And I loved delivering my speeches at those weddings, because all 3 of them mean so much to me in many different ways, because they're all unique and different. They're my snowflakes.
Okay, so that's amazing, Brian. And okay, so let me, from a person that's goals. Okay, so here's your goal. I want to walk my kids down the aisle. I want to be there. Now you did it. Now what? Now do you set other ones after that? The one thing I found, some people, when they set a goal and then they hit it and it's like, okay, it's over. But for me, I'm kind of like, okay, what's the next step? And I don't. Did you do that as well?
Yes, absolutely. So the key thing, once I delivered on those goals, yes, they were behind me, but in front of me was grandchildren to be, and now I've got 4 grandchildren that are the real deal, and I want to be able to continue to get down on the floor, although that too is also an Olympic event and getting back up. That's not just Parkinson's. That's these old tennis knees are what they used to be. But yeah, no, it absolutely. The goals continue. So I want to leave a legacy right now. That's just what I'm doing as an expert journalist. I want to leave a legacy behind for my 4 grandchildren, so that they know that their grandfather didn't quit when he was diagnosed with Parkinson's. He took that bugger on, and I'm going to do it every day. And that's why, like you, Bryce, I will have a conversation with one. I'll have a conversation with many.
Yeah.
But I'm going to make sure that every person that is diagnosed with Parkinson's after me has a better journey and experience than I did. And I'm so proud to be a part of the advisory council at Parkinson's Canada, which is a 3-year commitment in working with the CEO, Karen, as well as the board of directors, the executive leadership team, and 15 odd folks like myself, person with Parkinson's, as well as caregivers, we're going to make a difference. We're going to change. We're going to change the tune that this disease marches to, whether it likes it or not.
Amazing. Well, just on a side note, since I am employed by Parkinson Canada, maybe you can put in a good word for me with Karen every once in a while. No, I'm just kidding. I think that's amazing. And you know what, Brian, I had an epiphany as you were saying that, because why are we doing this? Right. So to be honest with you, yeah, our who, you have your who and I got my who, and a lot of people who's our who, but I think you and I both, part of our who is the other people, the community of people with Parkinson's around the world. And I think that's why we're doing what we do, because
absolutely,
it keeps us going. It's exciting. It's what motivates me every day. It's why I sit there and days that I'm tired and stressed, and not tired, but it's been a long week and I'm tired, and wouldn't it be nice just to stay in my pajamas all Sunday and watch TV? Yeah. But we're on here doing this because A, we love doing it. B, I love hanging out with you for an hour. But C, I'm hoping that anybody is going to tune in, even just one, somewhere around the world, and say, "Oh my God, I needed that today," and we can give them some type of hope or inspiration. So that it's become our who. That's why we're doing this show. It's our who, right? So if you're watching this or listening to this, thank you for being our who, right? And I hope that we can put some value into your life. And this is a giant. Brian, I never expected this. I didn't expect to be so emotional today. And I thought, hey, I had some jokes. I really thought, hey, let's talk about how we told this, and then we didn't tell that. And it's like, I got very deep and emotional, but I'm realizing that it's a deep subject. And it's not, I don't want to ever make it seem so small either, that what we have is a small thing. And I think that's why I think we talked a little bit about this, but I'm almost thinking we should do this a little bit more. Whereas some of these are bigger topics, I think, than a 2-minute conversation. I don't want to leave people like stranded saying, hey, we start talking about how you tell your kids, and I'm still waiting because I want to tell my kids, or what do I do here? So I think next week too, we were talking about that. We're going to talk about work, like when to start work, when to stop work, how to tell people work. And I think we're going to break these into many sections. I think we can even talk about, our kids and our family, because it's not easy. Like we're saying, hey, we did this, and we're like, well, I don't want people to think that, oh my God, it's so easy for them. There must be something wrong with me, but it's not easy. These aren't easy things. Yeah. They're not easy conversations. I remember sitting with my kids, and at the time, I think they were all preteens. I had one daughter. My daughter's about. I screwed up, and by the way, just to let myself.
You're good with easy math, buddy.
Yeah, I screwed up. Well, I said my daughter, whatever, one of the last episodes, but I was totally off, and my wife explained to me later how old she was.
Should have been.
Yeah, I was a whole decade off. I'm like, what am I doing? But anyway, my daughter was younger, 15, so she was probably at 8, I think 7 or 8, and so, but then I had 2 teenage boys, and I had a family meeting and brought them together. Looking back, some advice for me, at least personally, I probably would have done it a bit differently, because my daughter had to hear something different at 8 than my son at 14. Yeah. He came up with the questions that were like, oh my God, I don't think my daughter's ready for that yet. And I want, so I think there's some learnings in there that we can really dig into. And I mean, between the two of us, I think we had kids from 8 to 20 something.
My eldest is 38.
We can cover the spectrum on that,
Yeah, for sure.
And it's important. It's important stuff, because we want to protect their feelings, but we want to be honest with them at the same point, right? And we want to be able to. We want anybody out there who hasn't told their kids or has to tell their kids, and you could wrap that into parents as well. What I didn't expect, Brian, I don't know how you felt about this, but telling my parents was almost as scary as telling my kids.
I can't relate because my parents have passed, but I can only imagine.
Yeah,
like my dad was my best friend.
Yeah,
I would have had a hard time there for sure.
It's hard, right? Because, and for all different reasons. Like you don't. Well, the big reason is you don't want them to worry, right? And I didn't want my kids to worry that I wasn't going to support them. As a matter of fact, one of my sons actually asked me when I was telling them. He said, "Are we going to lose the house?" Because he didn't understand. Like, holy smokes, no, we're
okay. It's funny where they go to with their thinking, right? We got to be aware of that and try and head it off before
kind of thing, right?
They're going through the guardrail, right?
Absolutely. Prepare yourself for it. And I think the truth, the bottom line is to be truthful, and not try to guess. Like I told my kids would ask some pretty hard questions, and I'd say, I don't know. I don't know. I can't answer that question. Even if it might scare them, but I'll find out. Like I think I said that before. Like I'm not sure about that, but let me ask my doctor and I'll find out. And then the other thing I did too is I invited everybody, anybody like my parents, my kids, come to a doctor appointment with me. Like I go once every 6 months, so I'll book you in advance. But if you want to come with me. You can ask the doctor some questions. You can hear what we do and everything else. And I think it's just being open, honest, and saying what I know, but also when I don't know, I don't know. I don't try to make it up.
Yeah, you need to make sure they're whole and complete and they're clear on what they need to understand.
Yeah.
When my kids, when I was sick with the heart disease, I had to have the triple bypass. Ended up writing a book at that time, and I have two favorite chapters in that book, and I didn't write either one of them. The one is called "The Caregiver's Role." That was written by my wife, Lori. We get married and we say, in sickness and in health. I think we say that so that we can get to the party. We don't even listen to what those words are. But
you're right.
In reality, those words are huge. And my wife has lived up to them every day through the heart disease and now through the Parkinson's. But when I wrote that book, she wrote the chapter on the caregiver role because I couldn't write that. And my three kids, God bless their hearts, they were 13, 16, and 19 at the time. I asked them if they would write what it meant when they heard that their dad was going to need open heart surgery. That's a chapter everybody needs to read because they were open, they were honest, they were vulnerable. They were my three little girls.
You know what, Brian? We're going to put a link in the description today as well. So if you're watching this live, it'll be about 5 minutes after we get up to put a link to that book as well, because I think it's important and that's powerful. I think it's powerful. It's therapeutic as well for your kids, and obviously you've done a great job raising your kids, and I think that we see that, and we feel fortunate. And I think that maybe one of these episodes we'll bring our better halves on, and we'll bring the four of us on and have a chit chat, and because I think
that would be phenomenal.
I think we should, because I think that, and if you agree, if you'd like us to bring our wives on, and you can ask them questions, or we can ask them questions, or whatever, put put that in the comments, give us a thumbs up or a like it, and we'll go ahead and do that, because I think the caregiver and that role, the best thing, and I don't know who said this, and if it was you, Brian, tell me. If it wasn't, then I'll just take credit for it. But someone said,
you take credit anyway.
Oh, actually, no, it was one of our someone left a comment on one of the videos and said that when my partner was diagnosed with Parkinson's, it wasn't, they weren't diagnosed, we were diagnosed.
Oh, wow. No, that was,
and I thought that was powerful. We were diagnosed. And I think that a lot of times we forget. And we forget sometimes. They don't have credit. Like, that's not, come on, man. Like, they play a massive role in our lives. Whoever that care partner may be, whether it's your spouse or whoever that person is for you, that you're it was like they didn't sign up for this. No. Right? They didn't sign up for it. It's not something anybody would wish for, but yeah, we need to make sure that we recognize that, and we lift them up and we applaud them, because it's a tough job. And if you're a caregiver watching or listening, thank you for what you do, and thank you for
100%.
What you go through. And I know there's days where you want to pull your hair out, and there's days that you look at it, that's how tough it is, but it's such an important role. And and even the days that I know for myself, there's some days you don't say thank you. Some days it just becomes natural anymore. But where it's a tough job. So anyway, we should do that. We'll bring that on. We'll do that. We'll set that up. Right? Would Lori be okay coming on?
Idea.
I'll have to talk my wife into it. She might be like, what the heck? But,
yeah, mine would be the same, but that's okay. You and I can't shut up. So we'll carry the conversation. They'll just correct us for an hour. It's perfect.
They'll be the ones telling us, okay, that's enough. Let me talk. I can see it. I don't know how we need someone to work the mics and mute them off, but no, 100%. My wife said she can't send me it. She sent me the other day. I had to go pick up something, or drop something off for somebody. And I said, I'll be like 5 minutes. I'll be like a 10-minute drive, 5 minutes with them, and 10 minutes back. And she said, I'll see you in 2 hours. And I said, you're right. He's a big talker, isn't he? She's like,
So
I got a question. I do. What's that?
Was it 2 hours?
It was no, it was like an hour and 58 minutes.
Yeah, she was right. I knew she was right.
I love, you know what? I love people and I love talking and I love engaging. And to be honest, something about Parkinson's came up, and I'm kind of that guy. If I hear something now, when I went for years not wanting to tell anybody anything and not, kind of not wanting anybody to know and not talking about it. Now I'm like if I hear anything or see anybody, I'm like, I want to educate. I want to talk. I want to advocate,
Absolutely.
so it's like, I have to, I'll spend as much time. And she knows that as well. And she's the same way. Because,
Can I give you a really quick fun fact?
I'd love you to give me a
It
quick
kind of touches on that. I think it was 2 weeks ago after we did our Sunday call webinar here.
Yeah.
I got a note on Facebook, and the individual that was reaching out to me was my neighbor in 1968. So
Wow.
I was 7 going on 8. The Leafs had just won the cup the year before. I haven't seen this person since 1968.
Wow.
She
I
was
wasn't even
2 years
born in
older than me.
1968.
I actually hung out with her brother. We were in the same class, but we moved away in 1968. But Facebook and social media is a funny animal. It really shrinks the world. Nothing is 6%. It's more of a 1-2%. Long story short, she reached out because her best friend had just been diagnosed with Parkinson's and needed somebody to talk to. Had coffee with her 2 days later. It was awesome.
And you hadn't seen
the time, Bryce. If we have to do it one at a time, we'll make a difference.
You hadn't seen her. You hadn't.
I wouldn't know if I walked past her in the mall.
Oh my God, Brian! You know what? I wasn't even born in 1968, so haha.
Yeah, I know.
That's an amazing. And you know what? And the thing is, Brian, had you not been doing this or stepping out and proclaiming things and posting things online on your stuff, she might not have had anybody to reach out to.
Right. And now we're having a second coffee. I'm just waiting for her to find the time. I'm available. I'll have
That's
that
amazing. That's amazing. Okay, let me ask you this, Brian. Why? Why do you, what would you tell somebody who is maybe sitting, listening to this or watching this, and they're saying, man, I don't know, maybe I should do something. Maybe, why do you do it? What does it do anything for you personally?
I like to think of myself as a student and a teacher at the same time. I'm at the front of the class, but I'm also in the class because I'm an expert journalist. I'm not a general expert. That would be, I have to know too much, and I'm too old to put that much time into learning. I'm an expert journalist because I know a little bit about everything, and if I don't know the answer, I know where to go get it or where to lead you. First of all, if you're newly diagnosed, there's a book on Parkinson's.ca, the Canadian website. I call it Every Victory Counts. That's your journal. That's your encyclopedia. You need to get a copy of that. You need to get a buddy system. Somebody like me or Bryce that knows a little bit more about Parkinson's than you do, so we can help you in that journey.
Brian, I just thought of this too. What we'll do in the description a little bit after we end the program, I'll make sure it's in there. So in Canada, Parkinson Canada has the Every Victory Counts book, and in the United States, it's the Davis Finney Foundation. And again, free with there's adapted for Canada, and there's a U.S. version. And if you don't have that, I go to the description and click it, because again, free resources, but it's the Bible. It's the one. I tell people this. Everybody somehow seems to know that book, What to Expect When You're Expecting. I don't know but everybody say, there's a book called What to Expect When You're Expecting. And that's like everybody who's pregnant has it. And that's this book here. This is the Parkinson's book of the same thing. It's Every Victory Counts. It's not a book you read cover to cover, Brian, right? It's not one you're going to read cover to cover, but it's like the encyclopedia of it's such a good resource to have. You get it, you put it on your desk or on your counter, and when something happens or something's coming up, or you want to look up a symptom or what a medication is, it's a go-to. It's an absolute game changer.
Yeah, I tell the Gen X and the millennials, think of it as Google in a written format. In the book.
What's the book?
If you want to know something about freezing, go to the back of the book, look up freezing, go to that page.
Yeah,
you'll know everything about freezing.
Absolutely.
Read those few paragraphs.
Absolutely. No, that's smart. I mean, it's a good resource. We'll put that. We'll link it. I think there's digital copies too. You can read online. But okay, Brian, I'm going to ask you a real tough one here. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Who, who who was the hardest person? Like, who was the hardest person that you had to tell about that you had Parkinson's to?
My kids.
And while you're thinking about it, again, in the comments, please, join the conversation. Who was the hardest person that you had to tell?
Yeah, it would be my kids.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like if you think back to 2007, when I was diagnosed with heart disease, like the youngest was in grade 8, the middle one was wrapping up high school, and the eldest was just starting university. All very important crossroads of their lives. What's great is I got to dance with my daughter at her grade 8 graduation. I got to go to my daughter's high school graduation, and I got to see my daughter finish her first year of university and make the dean's list 3 years later.
Awesome.
I couldn't be prouder.
That's amazing. That's awesome. That is amazing, man. Holy mackerel. My nose is plugged. I've been crying so much here. So it's thank you for being vulnerable too. It's amazing. Like this is again, it's just real, right? It's just real. It's what it's all about. And I love that. I love that about that. Listen, do you want to do some shake up real quick?
You know what? I do.
Okay. All right. Let's do that.
Let me get oriented. I'm a mess over here. I'll just give me a second.
Okay, no worries. I would also say this too, and Brian's doing that. So next week, I think we're going to talk about that, work. How do you know to leave work, when to start work, when to leave work, when is it time to leave work? How do you tell people at work? How do you incorporate that? I know we have 2 different journeys on that, and it's quite exciting and whatnot. But we're just thankful that you're following. You ready to go?
All right, we are ready for shake up. Are you ready?
All right, let's do the shake up. I'm always ready for the shake up.
Yeah, you're getting pretty good at this, I got to admit. So we're going to go with scenario number 1.
Okay.
And for the audience, I'm going to read a scenario for Bryce, and I'm going to give him 3 options on how he thinks he might handle it. And then he's going to let us know what the actual answer is. And if you want to play along, by all means, we would love to see your answers in the chat.
Yeah, I want to see if I'm an outlier. I could be an outlier, and maybe I'm all by myself, and then I'll know I'm by myself. But yeah, if they drop I think it's an A, B, C, or D, and drop it in there so I know and see if you think like me. I don't know if you do. Okay, go.
That would be great. And so Bryce, you're at a barbecue.
Okay.
And a distant cousin walks up and says, "You have Parkinson's, but you look totally fine." How do you respond? I've got 4 options for you. 3 options. Do you A, shrug it off?
Mm-hmm.
B, explain that most symptoms are invisible? Or C, drop a sarcastic one-liner?
Okay, so
Do you need to repeat those?
Yeah, no, I think give me a repeat. Okay, so my cousins, I'm at a barbecue. My cousin's like, "Hey, you don't look like you have Parkinson's." And okay, so do I?
Exactly.
Okay.
So A would be shrug it off.
Yeah.
B would be explain that most symptoms are invisible.
Yeah.
And C would be drop a sarcastic one-liner.
I would combine B and C. B and C for sure. Number one, so number one is, and you deal with this, and I deal with this. That happens all the time. But and in the beginning, I'd just make a joke about it and kind of move on and not want to really discuss it. But now it's like, yeah, well, you know what? I go with B. And that's again breaking the stigma about Parkinson's and what people know and don't know. What I believe this, Brian, that most people around our age or a little older or younger, they know Parkinson's by Michael J. Fox, or they know Parkinson's by somebody, and it's always it's the movements, the shaking. But my God, that's just one. For me, it's such a small part of it. It's the stiffness, the brain fog, the freezing, the stuck, all this stuff that they don't know. And again, the quicker I tell them that these things happen to me, when it happens to me and they see it, they're not going to be like freaked out. Maybe
Exactly.
They're not going to be worried about it. So right away, I'd be like, no, I'd be like, B, keep it light. I'd be honest, but I'd be light. I'd say something like, yeah, you know what? I know. I'd agree. Like, yeah, I know most of it's invisible, but it's still real. And, I'm very thankful and I'm very happy that I haven't progressed to the stages yet that you can see it. So, that kind of thing. So that'd be my answer.
Perfect.
And that's if I like her. If I don't like her, I'd say something really sarcastic, but I won't leave that for another day.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking you might be a bit of that one too, to be honest with you. Let's go to the second one I have here.
Yeah.
And here it says you're on a first date.
Yeah.
Your tremor kicks in. You haven't mentioned Parkinson's yet. Do you A, hide it, B, explain it right away, or C, use humor to ease into it?
Ooh, first date. Okay, so first date. So my tremor's kicking in, and I haven't mentioned Parkinson's yet. I guess the first thing I'd say is, does my wife know I'm on the date? That would be a really important part of that. So, because if I haven't told her I have a wife, I'm not going to tell her I have Parkinson's. And anyway, I'm just kidding.
Beautiful.
But I can speak to this because literally, I was Brian. I don't know if we go deep in this, but I was married for like 27 years. Got divorced. So I was single for about 4 years. When I met my current wife, so I had to date. I had to date with Parkinson's, and I think that was that could lead to some interesting discussions as well. But bottom line with that one is, so I met the date, it kicks in. Okay, so what was it? A, do I hide it?
Yep.
B,
explain it right away.
Yeah.
Or C, use your humor to ease into it.
Okay, I'm definitely going humor on that one. That's that icebreaker humor, because I think I'm super cute when I'm funny, but that's me. But I'd probably go like, I'd probably say something like I don't know, I'd make a little joke like while my drink's doing a shimmy, it's got Parkinson's too, and then I'd kind of explain it casually, or I'd be like, hey, I'm shaken, not stirred, or it's a milkshake, something with a shake, like I'm shaking up the. I'd probably make a joke, and then that would kind of break the ice on it, and then I'd kind of explain it, and I'd like to get that one out of the way as fast as possible too.
Very good. Yeah, I had a situation recently where my middle daughter's husband was in our kitchen, and I came walking in the kitchen from the living room, and my nickname is Camper, and he goes, "Hey, Camper, what's shaking?" I said, "Not me, and that's a good thing." Just throw some humor at it, right?
Yeah.
Like we got to laugh too, right?
Absolutely.
Going through day after day of bad issues, and we don't want to be doing that.
And I swear, Brian, I again, could just be me, but hopefully it's not just me. But I really think when I make a joke or make fun of it, I take this power back. Like it's just, it's like this silly thing, this, whatever it might be. So, I don't know. How about you? How about you watching or listening? How do you respond in those situations? So did you agree with what I said? Would you do it differently? Would you, or actually, how about even this?
You and I are a lot alike.
We are a lot alike,
right? And then we both think we're funny.
But maybe we're not, Brian. How about that? If you're out there right now, when you're doing this, what is some other funny things that you might say? Maybe I'd like to hear some one-liners, some punchlines. Maybe way better than ours.
Some of those.
Yeah, and then if it's okay that we steal them and use them, I tell you, you know what I'll do here, Brian. This is what I'm going to do. I got these motivational moments where I'm making fun of something with Parkinson's, right? Yeah. But there's a lot of times I have to really think about, okay, what would be a good punchline for that? Like putting on my socks, or the drink thing. But if you put something, a one-liner in the comments, and then other people can like it, and whatever gets the most likes, I'll use that line in my one of my motivational moments. I'll take their line and use it, and I'll give you credit for it. How about that? That'd be kind of fun. That'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's why I use the extended warranty example. And all kidding aside,
I love that, by the way.
I think people, remember and relate when there's humor tied to it, for sure. Absolutely. They draw up images in their mind.
Oh my God, there's no question. You're right. And you know what? And if it was funny, if we did hit the note, like this extended warranty, by the way, I'm going to steal that and use it if you don't mind. I'll give you credit for it. Well, like my buddy Brian says this, because I think that is so perfect, because when it sticks in your head like that, and it resonates with you, you can pull those out for those moments just for yourself too. When you're feeling down or feeling blue, and you'd be like, no, wait a minute, that's my extended warranty. Oh, okay, then you can make yourself feel better about it. And I think that's really important.
So you're celebrating your first anniversary later this month.
Yeah,
I'll be celebrating my 42nd anniversary.
Look at you, old man.
In June.
Beautiful.
Lori and I met. We were 15 and 13. Here's a quick fun fact. First date, since we were on that topic, I snuck into my sister's bedroom and used her princess phone where it was quiet to call Lori up so I could take her out on a date. And you can imagine how nervous I was, but I came out of that bedroom a champion. I was dancing around like Rocky Balboa.
Look
But then
at
I
that.
realized I had two problems.
Yeah.
You see, I asked her out to a drive-in, and there's two things that I didn't have. One, I wasn't 16, so I didn't have a license. And two, I didn't have a car.
I was
My brother is 14 months older than me, so Lori set him up with her best friend. He drove, and we sat in the back seat.
Oh my
And
God.
I know if she was on this call, she would tell you this part, so I might as well say it anyways. Yeah, I made her pay, and I sat in my own corner of this Lincoln Marquis. I didn't even hold her hand. In the movie?
Who
Blazing
are you?
Saddles.
What was the movie?
Blazing Saddles.
Blazing Saddles. Oh my
Classic from the
gosh.
70s.
I love it. You know, that part where they're around the fire. Oh my God. I can't even go there. I'll start laughing. Okay, hold on, Brian. Just a second. So you didn't have a car, didn't have a driver's license, right? So number one, why the hell would you even think about a drive-in?
Well, grade 7 was the best 3 years of my life, so do the math on that.
and then you didn't pay. I think we need to bring Lori on a lot sooner, maybe even by herself, because anyway.
It's her fault. She sat on the side where the window was rolled down to pay for the movies. She paid for me.
Oh my God! Well, they do say that the girls mature faster than boys, don't they? I think.
I was still trading hockey cards, buddy.
Oh my God, that's amazing! What a story! You know, I'll tell you what. It's funny for me on the reverse side of that. I was working at the time, and this is really really quick. So I was working, and I was going through a divorce. And I was going to this restaurant lounge, I guess, we were doing inventory at the store, and I took the staff there. So I walked into this with all my staff, I think 14 or 15 staff from the store, and we walk into this restaurant lounge, and we're waiting for them to get the menus out to go seat us. And it just sounds like a movie, which it really does, but hear the music's playing in the background of it. And I looked across the lounge, and this woman was sitting there by herself, and our eyes locked. Like I literally just walked, our eyes locked, and it was like love at first sight. Like immediately, I'm like, "Whoa, what?" And I went, so we're walking. So they're going to seat this 15 of us, and I'm walking, and I haven't taken my eyes off the lady. And literally, as we walked past the table, I stopped and sat down. Like just sat down and was just staring at her. She's staring at me, and I just went like, wow. And it wasn't just her; she was beautiful. There was just something. It was like something inside me leapt. Like it was like two spirits, like it leapt inside, and it was immediate. But what's crazy about the story is that I was going through a divorce. I had recently been diagnosed with Parkinson's. My doctor told me I had 5 good years left. Okay. And she was a widow, and her husband had passed away about 10 months before this. And so, which I didn't know at the time, but anyway, we exchanged numbers. We ended up talking all night, exchanged numbers. She went home, I went home. We called. I met her the next day for coffee. We chatted for an hour. We met the next day for coffee, chatted for an hour. I met every single day for like an hour and a half. I couldn't get enough of her, wanted more. And then I went, like, at the time I went, oh my God, this woman has just gone through an incredible heartbreak, and there is no way that she deserves to go through that and then have 5 years and then have to deal with it again and deal with this. So I did this thing that the kids call ghosting, I guess. It was awful, but I was just, I didn't want to burden her with my problems, and I didn't want to be a letdown, and I didn't think she deserved it, and I just left. And so 5 years later, I was I saw her on Instagram, and I'm like, oh my God. And I'd gotten to this point where, hey, I went through 5 years, I'm still okay, hey, and I'm still doing good, and it's not happening. And you know what, I'm gonna. So I took my shot, and I DM'd her, and just said, hi, how are you, and blah blah blah, and she got back to me, and we started chatting, and we were talking, and I said, I've been thinking about it for 5 years, and she said, I have been thinking about you for 5 years, and I said, wow, and I said, would you meet me for coffee or a drink or something? And she's like, well, how do I know? Like I'm not gonna set myself up for disaster again. Anyway, long story short, I finally talked her into it, and we met. So we call it 2.0. So Bryce and Carmen 2.0. We met for a drink. And when we were finishing the drink, we were talking about how long it's been since we'd seen each other. And, the night that I saw her, that I told you when our eyes locked and I knew I was love at first sight, was November the 16th of whatever year, I guess 20, whatever it was. And we were sitting there having our drink 2.0, and it was November the 16th. Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly 5 years of the day. And we didn't really, it just happened. And it was insane. So you can tell.
Did you get married on November the 16th?
Exact 5 years. We were sitting there having a drink, having a discussion. Exactly 5 years from the first moment I saw her. So of course, then we got engaged on November the 16th.
I love it.
Right, and a year later, and we've never been apart. So anyway, there is still love. Whether there's love through Parkinson's, there's also love after Parkinson's diagnosis as well. So that can be a testimony of that. So that was a long story, but I just thought maybe it's encouraging, because I didn't think that there would be a sane person alive that would sign up for this. Like Lori, she signed up years ago, right? And it's like sickness, and I get that, and that's such an inspiration to me, because I had one that didn't. My one's, I don't want to go too deep, but said, I'm not your caregiver. I'm like, okay, thank you very much. I'm out. Right. But to think that this woman knew what I had, knew what I was going through. And her sister, or somebody, a relative at the time, was actually working for a neurologist, and said, I know what's going to happen. I know what Parkinson's is. Sign me up. I'm going to do this with you. You're not doing this alone. And it blows my mind to this day. So, yeah, hopefully that encourages somebody.
It's very inspirational.
Man, Brian, we went deep. Holy God. It was like a massive therapy session again here. It's like, my Lord. But, the conversations aren't easy, right? They're not.
No.
But I really believe the more we share, the more we help others find their own voice. So hopefully, we'll help someone find their own voice. But I think, we're going to wrap it up. That's a wrap. It's been like an hour. And I have to go blow my nose, to be honest with you. I'm just so emotional. But I thank you, Brian, thank you for your vulnerability. Thank you for your honesty and your vulnerability. I think that it's amazing and inspiring. So I think it was a great conversation. A great conversation.
Thank you, everybody, showing up today, and have a great week and be well.
Absolutely. And you know what? If you're navigating how to talk about your diagnosis, just know there's no perfect way. You get to decide when and how. All right? And we'll see you next time.
You did it. You made it through another episode of Life in Motion. That's 20 to 30 minutes you could have spent folding laundry, Googling your symptoms, or rearranging the 14 pill bottles on your nightstand. Instead, you hung out with Bryce and Brian. That's friendship. Or questionable time management. Either way, we're grateful. Be sure to follow the show. Leave a review. Or just yell, I have Parkinson's and I'm fabulous, into your backyard. We'll hear you. Probably. New episodes drop regularly, unless we both forget. Until next time, keep laughing, keep shaking things up. And if you find our train of thought, please return it.